Hello. This
Hi.
is St. Matthew Parish Project, Parish History Project. It is October 18th, 2022. I am Mary Komorowski, and I am sitting here with Shelly and Bill Madden. So thank you for agreeing to do this today.
Thank you for being here.
So I'm going to go through some of, as I mentioned, staff questions. So chime in if you think it's applicable, but I'm mainly aiming at Shelly. What were the dates of your tenure at St. Matthew's?
Okay, that varies because when I started, it was through actually, Barb Schrader was still here at that time, and she needed a catechist. And it was going to be on just a limited basis because somebody that she needed be the catechist with. I had just joined the parish 2 weeks, so I had no idea what I was doing or getting myself into. So I agreed and became one of the 10th grade catechists. I was 9 months pregnant at the time, so all the kids in the class were laughing at me because I was short and a little bit chunky at that time. But they, like I said, they all, it just was a wonderful experience.
Do you remember the year?
Yeah, and it was the beginning of a school year, and because I had, so that was my first introduction to St. Matthew's.
What year was that, do you
And
recall?
that was in 1980.
Wow, okay.
So, and then I started in my career being a catechist in high school, and then 2 years later, I was a 10th grade catechist, and I also did the preschool. I helped out at the preschool level because I had that 2-year-old and I had a 5-year-old, so that we were always at the preschool. And then a couple of years after that, I ended up directing the preschool, and then that's where I started to work through St. Matthew's. But it was again on a limited basis, like a stipend in a part-time basis. And then from there, I took over as being a secretary for the religious ed and the youth ministry area. And I worked part-time, which developed into full-time over the years. But so it's kind of, they have to kind of look at it all the time. Every time the Archdiocese asks that question of the parish, they'd say, wait a minute, I have to go back and check now. Was that a stipend year? Was that a part-time year? Was that a full-time year? So by the time they started it, I believe they said it started back in 85. But it was, here or there. So,
And what year did you retire?
And then I retired in 2017. So it's either 27 or 30 years, depending on which thing we need to look at. But
That's a long time to spend at one parish.
yes, it is. I loved it. It was awesome. It was my family.
Yeah, I hear you.
And that's where Bill comes in.
Were you employed at the parish at all on staff?
No, just
volunteer?
CCD.
Okay. All right. Tell me about your earliest memory of your time at the church. Like maybe let's blend these questions a little bit. When did you join St. Matthew's?
Back in 1980.
80, okay.
We moved into this house in 1980. And that's when I joined Parish and started right away. Kicked up my heels and went to work.
Where did you move here from?
At the time, I was living in Bayview, and before that, I was with my home family in St. Francis. So we stayed with Sacred Heart of Jesus Church in St. Francis, and then from there moved here.
And is that where your sacraments were? Sacred Heart?
Sacred Heart, yep. Well, mine actually, all my kids, with the babies and stuff like that, and most of mine, but I was born up in Michigan, so my baptism was up there.
Okay. What about you, Bill? When did you first come to St. Matt's?
26 years ago, maybe, somewhere in that era. Shelly had said she needed a 7th grade CCD teacher, and she graciously volunteered me.
Volunteered, voluntold.
Voluntold, thank you
Yes.
for correcting my
I know
grammar.
how that goes.
Yes. But again, I'm originally from St. John's in South Milwaukee. This is where I was baptized, confirmation, First Communion, grade school, and then from there, Holy Family in Cudahy, and then St. Matthew's.
Okay. What's your earliest memory at St. Matthew's?
Probably teaching classes. I had never done anything like that with youth. I'd always enjoyed working and doing things with kids, but I had never done anything like that. And I started doing it, started going on some of the mission trips. I would always tell people I would always get more out of the mission trips than I'd put into them. Every one of the mission trips was always a positive reinforcement for me. Really enjoyable.
Okay. Do you have a fondest memory? Either one of you?
I have lots of fond memories of St. Matthew's, including just at all of our festivals over the years. I mean, when we'd have our parish festival, we'd have the summer, festivals. Just everybody working together and seeing all these other people come in and say what a great job we were doing and how much fun it was that, it just, you just felt like a family. And it was great to be doing that. And we went through a lot of changes and a lot of different things, but all the time there were so many opportunities for us to get together as a parish, as a family. And to me, that's what church is. It's my family.
And I would probably say going on some of the mission trips, but one of the earlier ones I remember, and I'll never forget, we were in South Dakota, Little Dakota, Rosebud,
Yes.
and it was hot, and they divided us into different groups, and I had like 3 youth from our group in my immediate group, and we had 2 days of Bible and 2 days of service. And the 2 days of Bible class, we stayed on the grounds with the American Indians, the children basically. I'd say from ages maybe 1.5 up to 14 or 15 would be the age group. And
That's a big range.
but it was interesting because a 5-year-old would be responsible completely all day for a 2-year-old. And there was one, again, I'll never forget it. It was hot, and something came up with a smaller child, 1.5 years, could walk, but just barely. And one of our youth, one of the guys, ended up basically just playing and holding and carrying this child the whole day. It was something to see. It really was.
And no complaints.
No.
But there's so many. I mean, you really can't pick one. There were so many. And we have such wonderful kids have gone through this parish. I mean, phenomenal. And like I said, I ran into one last night that's now a senior in high school. And, they come up and they hug you and, they remember you. And that just touches you. Like, how could they even remember? I haven't even been in the church, at the church anymore for 5 years. And as far as other than the mass and stuff like that, but yet they come running to you and calling your name, and you just feel like, wow, they're family. So it gives you goosebumps to know that. And then they talk to you about, this was what I really liked, and this is, thank you. And you still get thank yous.
Weddings, graduations,
Yeah.
all the things we were invited to over the years, which and we still are. Just
Right.
within the last couple of months, we were invited to one.
So, and I said it touches you, it reaches you, that they're still your family.
Yeah. completely understand. How has your family's involvement changed in the parish over the years?
My family's involvement, that's probably one thing that I maybe would say that I regret a little, is that I didn't get a lot of time with my family on weekends. I was at the church doing things, or on weekends going on retreats and mission trips and things, and my family was here, you know, and so that I regret some of. It's not that they were neglected by any means, and that, you know, most of the time it was like, that's okay, Mom, go ahead, we don't need you here. They didn't want me here. But at the same time, you know, I do look back at that and say, gee, I wish I would have been there for that. I wish, you know, I look at pictures and say, I'm not in it.
Mm.
And so there's some of that I, like I said, that I feel like, okay. But at the same time, they tell me over and over again how proud they are of me and what I accomplished when I was there, and how many people I've touched, even though I don't realize that, or I don't really say that, but they do.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they say, all my friends want to be here. They want to be with you. I mean, and, you know, just, you know, yesterday happened to be my birthday.
That's
and
right.
I can't tell you how many of those kids have sent me happy birthday wishes. And I said, how do I contact all of these kids to say thank you? But it was amazing. So, you know, you just feel amazed. So even though I have some, you know, feelings like regret, but some are so exciting and happy that, how can I say?
Did your children get involved in parish life?
They were volunteered a lot. They were volunteered a lot, and yes, they did everything from Sandwich Sunday through, you know, the other things, events we had. I used them as my guinea pigs, and this is what we're going to do. What would you guys say? And that sucks, Mom. Don't do that.
Well,
You know, that kind of stuff. So that was very helpful.
and in my case, I was fortunate when, again, I started teaching 7th grade. I had told Shelly, I said, you know, I've never done this, but my oldest daughter works with children, so her and I would co-teach. And that was, again, a long time ago. And she was married, 2 children, one a preemie, and a husband who you can almost count as a child. She taught for 19 years on Monday nights. And every year Shelly would call and say, no pressure. I know you've got so much going on with work and the baby and everything. If you can't do it this year, I totally understand. You know, thanks for all the help in the past. And for 19 years, she taught over there, which both of us were very proud of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then my daughter Nola also taught preschool for 5 years, you know, to help in there. So, like I said, they took their turns doing different things and mission trips that they went on. So, you know, I would have loved to have them all go on them, but, you know, some of them didn't want to. It's okay.
So you've mentioned the youth ministry and the child formation and Sandwich Sunday. Have there been other things you've been involved in, or not that that's not enough? It certainly is, but I don't want to miss anything.
Fireside?
Oh yeah, they took. Yeah, I organized trips for the parish for different things at the fireside, or, you know, opportunities, and got a bus and took people there. We had a few years of that where we would go and do that, which was fun.
Was that mostly seniors, or?
It was a lot
Most
of
anybody.
seniors, but
Mostly.
everybody was invited. Yeah, it was
Okay.
everybody. But yeah, most of them ended to be a lot of the seniors, and they loved the mimosas and things
I'm glad I was just thinking
that we had on our bus.
on the bus. That was the.
So yeah, we tried to, you know, I tried to help in all those areas. And like I said, being with youth ministry, I tried to invite kids to take part in a lot of things, whether it be the senior social that we had, you know. So because I invited them, I would be there, You know, I mean, I didn't want those kids all there with nobody there to help guide them or at least give them opportunities to work. So we did those. We did
Card parties?
the card party every year. We would take kids and do that every year. We went to, you know, I took older kids, if they were interested, they could go to the movies. We would take group cars and go to the movies.
Black
You know,
Holocaust
and it would
Museum?
be weather, Black Holocaust Museum. I would take them every year. We went to different churches to,
Church of the Great Spirit?
yeah, all that. You know, all of those things. We went to see the Basilica.
Hill.
We went to Holy Hill. You know, we did the gamut of all of those things and had many speakers over the years. We've invited.
Seder meal?
Yep, we used to do the Seder meal every year. So I worked with Alice Hatzenbauer at that time, and she was doing the RCIA. So we would kind of bring them together and see what we could do with those. So over the years, we've tried lots of different things.
Miss a lot of that nowadays. I'm going to change the tact a little bit. What were the church buildings like when you first joined the parish, and how have they changed?
Well, over the years, lots of them they're not there anymore. No, the school was here, and the rectory as it is, but the little brick church was being redone. I mean, it was here, but they were in the process of getting together like the fish boils so that they could make money to help, you know, fix the church and stuff like that. So it needed work. They had the old hall, they called it, and that's where a lot of my things with the kids, dances that I held for the kids, and different opportunities that we did for FIAD, so to speak, because we didn't have a gym here, that we utilized the old hall for a lot of that. So, you know, that was kind of nice, but that's not here anymore. And that for the youth was kind of a loss because they, you know, but it was needed to come down. So you know, we just kind of rearranged things and made things different. Decided to go a different tact and different things, more mission trips instead of the things we used to do in the old hall.
What about the main building itself?
The main building itself, it like I said, the building is still here, but as everything, it's moved in technology, it's moved in the way they share space and things like that. In the back, where it used to be where the nuns would live. I mean, that's where the nuns would live. And when I first started, there were nuns living there. So to see that not be used for that particular thing was a hard thing at first, you know, because you never went back there. That was respected space.
Mm-hmm.
Kids weren't back there. We weren't back there. It was a separate entity. But over time, everything's gotten changed, and you know, they went from having a youth room when I was there. We and you know, parishioners like yourself helped paint it and helped do things, and it was awesome for the kids to utilize that space. But again, they needed space for other things, and they needed to change the way things were. So some of that had to be let go again. So it's changed over the years and stuff, but you know, like I said, everybody I think understands that, you know, we need to try different things to make sure we're using the best resources in our parish to the best ability that we can. So, but it's got a computer room now. I mean, all these things that never were there before.
The gathering
classrooms,
space.
The gathering space, yeah, that. And like I said, at first, a lot of people were not in favor of having that gathering space. But I said, I think it's one of the best things we've done. It's beautiful. And
Agreed.
I think it's, you know, it's really, again, another place for family.
Well, it's a place where people can gather
Mm-hmm.
and have a sense of community
Mm-hmm.
that the Catholic Church was always, in my opinion, lacking. You went to church on Sunday for an hour, and it better only be an hour. You got out of there. You went to the church bazaar. You went if they had a church picnic. And for the most part, that's all the contact you had with a lot of the parishioners. Whereas now, especially for when they had the hospitality, you know, people would sit and talk and make plans and do things as a community, as a family.
Agreed. Well, it kind of segues into my next question, and I'm bouncing between these two sets of questions here. How has the involvement of the laity in the parish changed over the years?
Again, because of just everywhere, that the priests can't do everything anymore as they were planned. You know, that's what they thought, or people thought, that the priests were supposed to do everything. And they have to do more now because there's just so much to be done that we all have to chip in to do our part. Otherwise, it's not going to work, which we found out through lots of different things. And we still see that. A lot of people don't. And so there's people that you see that are always involved, and, you know, they're always doing more. But it's like that in everything. 10% will do everything. And you know, you can't expect the church to be different. You'd like it to be, but I don't know the answer to it. How people, you know, we can get them more involved. We've tried and tried and tried, but I think they're missing out. I have to look at it that way. I get excited when you try to get people to move and help. I get excited and my hands move, you know. And that was one of the things the kids would always yell at me for. You have to cut this stuff out. But
my eye roll.
But it's
That's okay.
you know, that in order to make people want to come or want to do things, want to be involved, you have to be excited when you talk to them, and you have to be excited about what you're doing. And that's lacking, I think, from a lot of people in our church. So we don't really get the help we need.
Well, just look at church attendance. How it's
dropped again.
So tremendously, and not just in the Catholic Church, in all the churches. People just aren't going, and the churches that are growing are the more charismatic churches. Charismatic, and they're growing. They're leaps and bounds.
And I don't know why either, but the laity, I think, plays a big part. We have to support one another, and we have to be able to be excited about what we do.
And be welcoming.
All right. I'm not sure this applies to you guys, but do you have any recollection, maybe not at St. Matthew's, but elsewhere, pre-Vatican II?
The pre-Vatican II?
How church has changed since pre-Vatican II?
Yeah.
I don't know how old you are, but...
Well, yeah, we're old.
Well,
if you came to St. Matt's in 1980, this would have been before you were...
as we were kids.
Right.
Growing up.
Well, Latin.
The Latin changed around. Growing up, you know, we had to learn everything in Latin, you know, and then all of a sudden they say, hey, no more.
Changing the altar?
Yeah, that, you know, we're going to be moving this. You have to learn the same song, but a different way. You have to sing it in English now. And it was like amazing. You mean this is what it meant all these years?
Well, like I said, I was an altar boy, and we had to say everything in Latin, and we almost clueless. We just knew how to say it in Latin. We had basically no idea, and never any altar girls. It was always the boys. In fact, I don't even know if they let women speak from the embo. I'm not even sure.
I don't. Back then, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not. There were none that I know of. But yeah, it was like, so we went through all that. We saw that change and all of that kind of stuff. But we also, I think, at the time, I remember going to confession and being scared that, is that going to change too? You know, like, what else don't I know that's going on? We were confused. And being young, young kids, At the time I was 10, 11, because by then it was 62, I think, when everything, the Vatican II came out in 62. So I was 11 years old when this were all starting. And it was a confusing time. And like I said, at the same time, it was exciting because, as I said, we all finally found out what we were saying. And it was really kind of nice. Really, that's what that meant? I never knew that. And we would, kind of whisper about that.
Yeah, the Confiteor and everything else.
Yeah, and it was like a whole new church opening up to us. And as kids, like I said, I think we relished that because I can remember my parents saying, I don't know why it's got to change. Why does everything have to change all the time? And, so they were like, because they could never, help us with any of that. And so it was kind of interesting that we were to take the lead on it. And so I kind of thought it was exciting.
Okay. Keeping with the history theme, how about 9/11 and COVID? What kind of impacts do you think those things had on the church?
I think a lot. I remember 9/11, the morning when it happened, and I woke up and saw it, woke you up, woke the kids up and stuff, because I was supposed to be going to pick up some material to use for a prayer service I was doing. And it, like I said, at the time, I drove out to St. Leonard's, and I asked for the info, because I was going out to pick some up, and I thought I'm still going to go through with a prayer service. Instead of what I planned for the following night, I came back to the parish and called Father Joe and said, "Hey, I'm doing this service tonight," and I didn't know even how to start. I mean, thinking about that, what could I do? What should I do? How can I get people to come? I had no clue. So the first thing I did was just call all the families and say, "I'm having one, and I hope you can come. I think we need to pray together." And I thought maybe, because I was inviting the families of the youth, that we'd only get about 50 people. So I thought I would do it in the little brick church.
No.
And by the time it got closer and closer, and Alice called me in the afternoon and said, she said, "Well, I was going to plan one." She said, "But I've already heard that other people are coming because you're having a," and I'm going like, holy, I'm not like, I don't even know what I'm doing, much less can we do something together? So then her and I sat down and we worked on I gave her what I had, and then she brought in some music and stuff like that she had, and we decided on what we do, and we didn't know how many people we would have. So we said, well, should we start in the little brick church and move over if we need to? Well, it was it was just an amazing turnout. People just kept coming.
How many did you have, do you think?
Oh, a couple hundred. And for me, that, like I said, again, I was just doing it. I just knew we had to do something. And so I didn't know what to do. But I just knew we had to pray.
Yeah.
That was the top of the thing. And I think then from that time, like I said, there was so much after that we had done as a parish. And to remember and to try to keep that prayer going. So that was a hard time.
But that was a time when people came together.
Yes, it was and surprisingly, like I said, there was a lot of people.
Whereas when you think of the issue with COVID, I think has divided a lot of people more than bring people together. And that's a political statement, more or less.
But the COVID itself, the pandemic, because of that, I think is why when people weren't allowed to come to church, they were said to stay home, that's where they thought they should be. They wanted to come together at church and pray. And yet I understand completely the reasoning why it wasn't a good idea at that time, and to stay home and pray. But I don't think I think it's why there's so many not back that didn't come back afterwards.
We still know people who watch the
Yeah.
Mass on
TV.
Sundays. And then I even know somebody who watched it twice on Sundays.
Well, that was because I couldn't come here. I mean, I couldn't come to church.
Well, I watch it on every day for the weekday on TV, but I'm always in person for the
Right.
weekend.
Like I said, yeah, because when you're able to go back, you know, then that's what you need to do. But
You're
it
right.
was
People
funny.
still haven't. I don't think they go.
No,
Rich's parents.
yeah,
I
there's
think
a lot
they
of people
watch,
that
I
still,
know they watch it on TV yet.
yeah, a lot of people are still hesitant.
Yeah, because of
Yeah.
COVID.
So it's kind of strange, but yeah.
All right, changing tact again. Who has been the most influential person in your faith development at St. Matt's?
Wow, I've had a lot of good advice from lots of people, and all have influenced me quite a bit.
Maybe name a few.
Like I think when I first started, Sister Carol Ann Yeager was very helpful in, you know, helping me. Alice Hatzenbeller was also very, very helpful in pointing different things that, you know, I could improve in, and also things that I did well. So, you know, so that was, like I said, very helpful.
Father
And
Bill.
Father, yeah, all of the priests that I worked with, that I had fun with, but I've also learned a lot from them all. Father Bill was very, very much helpful in, you know, some of the critiques and things that we would go over. He, because he was very honest in his critiques, and so it helped me think more about what I was doing and how I could improve, and so that helped. And also, Father Joe, he was the one that kind of pushed me into going further, into going into youth ministry, that I was perfectly happy just doing my secretary work and thinking, you know, another 20 years I can get out of here. But he kept saying, you have more to offer, and you need to look at this, and this is where I think you need to be. And so I think his was probably the most guiding to push me in the right direction that I needed to be. And so like I said, all through it, you know, and some of them, like, you know, Father Pat has his own way of doing things, and his own, like I said, I can go up and talk to him at any time, and, you know, we can goof around, but he can also be very serious and helpful. So, you know, I've been very fortunate that all of them that I've worked with have really helped. Sister Marie Rose is still calling me, and we still talk and pray together sometimes. So
That's cool. What about you, Bill?
If I had to pick the person who's probably influenced me the most, I'd have to say Shelly. She's really changed a lot of my thinking. In fact, just yesterday, somebody I was driving for said to me, says, you've got the patience of a saint. I said, well, a couple of years back, or maybe more than just a couple, I really didn't have that much patience, and sometimes I had a little temper. And he says, oh, not anymore? I said, no. I said, nothing seems to get under my skin like it did a long time ago. So I definitely say it was Shelly.
Perhaps I should send my husband over.
Yeah, but I got in trouble a couple of times because of my temper. And it's been at least 2 weeks now. I've been fine.
yeah, you've been good. Huh?
Okay.
I'm going to come back to that. Are there any pastors or other staff members that you recall having specific personality traits?
Like I said, they all have their own,
Funny stories? You got any funny stories for us? Or
I've already been told I can't tell some of the funny stories. That would get me in trouble. Off camera, catch me later.
Okay.
I'm not that involved, so, but
No, there's, like I said, they all have good and bad things that they've either said or done or whatever, or sorry for, whatever. But we all have. So, but they've all been great to work for. They really have. If you can overlook their faults, I always tell them, then they're good to work for.
well, we all have those, right?
And we all have them.
All right. I am going to shift back to the staff questions. Shelly, can you describe the focus of your role when you were first hired and how it changed over your tenure? Maybe you did that already.
I was going to say,
Maybe you did that already. What have been some of your greatest challenges as in your role at St. Matt's?
parents.
How so?
I mean, normally, because I work with the kids, but the kids are easy to work with because most of the time the kids are honest with me, and they can share things with me that'll stay there. But it's like with the parents, they would like to know more, or they want to be. Their kid never will do anything wrong and whatever. Even though their kids already told me what they've done, their parents don't want to accept that. There's different things. So there's different roles sometimes I have to play, which I never liked to do. I didn't even want to be someone that would tattle on somebody, or someone that would, just dismiss people. I don't like to do that. But it's just sometimes, they have different ideas of how you should treat their child differently. And you can't. I can't treat one child different from the others. And, that was a problem. And so that was probably my worst problem.
well, people expected you to have different rules for their kids.
Right. But like I said, I couldn't do that. So I disappointed some people, and I hated to do that. But like I said, I tried to treat everyone as I thought they should be treated. And, the kids usually are fine. They accepted it. And no big deal. But parents sometimes didn't accept it.
Guilty.
But it was, like I said, other than that, the most parents, in fact, all of the parents, I don't want to say most, all of them, I can tell you over the years, after a while, they would come back and they'd say, "Oh my God, you were so right. I should have listened in the first time, or this wouldn't have happened, or something. Had I listened to you, or had I realized you had already talked about this, whatever it was." That people would come back and they would say, "Thank you." I mean, when I left, I was so surprised at some of the parents when retirement note that I got from them, and it just blew me away for a lot of it. But I'm very happy. But at the same time, like I said, sometimes I would always get that little nudge, like, "Oh, I should have done it this way," and I didn't. But it's like, hey, life happens, and you have to go with what you think is right. So.
Right. Can you describe some of your accomplishments at the parish that you are the most proud of?
Well, I have to say Sandwich Sunday was number one, or one of the ones. It's still going on today. It's been going on for over 22 years.
Can you describe it a little bit? For anybody who's not familiar?
Yeah, it's a service. It started out as a service project for the youth, and we would get together and make sandwiches and lunches for people and take them down to the guest house or other areas at the beginning, wherever we could. We would take these sandwiches down. And so it gave the kids something to do at the parish that they could give back to, those in need. And, but it wasn't enough. I kept saying, we need to do more. We need to go there. We need to take them. But yet I couldn't take large groups of people into the inner city. And that would be, I couldn't have done that by myself. So we had to think of other ways. So we did finally, and we had not just the youth, but we opened it up to the whole parish. And so now, and then it became like, first of all, anyone in the parish, no matter how old or young, from the kids through grandparents and great-grandparents, that would come to make sandwiches on a Sunday morning. And then, take them down, and we found a partner in the guest house, which is a men's shelter for the homeless men, so that we could take sandwiches down there once a month. And we were only one of a dozen churches that were doing that, so they had sandwiches all year round. Excuse me. But it helped, and it also served a need at our parish for the whole parish to be involved in something that they could tangibly do and feel good about in helping others. And it also gave way for people to donate. If they couldn't work at the thing, they could bring bread, they could bring meat. Businesses could do that. People that worked in business could come down and cut the meat for us and do this. So it really connected a lot of people, and it's still going today, 22 years later. So hopefully another 20 years. Okay. That's one of them. So, but like I said, the mission trips were also, something that the kids could do, adults that came along with us. All of the adults probably will tell you the same thing. I got more out of it than the kids did, because it really, truly changed you when you went on a mission trip.
Well, and we haven't prepared at all for a question of the purses. We send the Pop Tops. Remember how boxing them and mailing them?
Tell her about that was part of our religion class.
Was it? I think it was a project we started in religion class. We would save the Pop Tops from soda cans, and we would send them. And again, I haven't prepared for this, so I'm not sure. But I think we sent them to Oklahoma, to a school there. And what they would do at this school is, when they would have a mission trip to Nigeria, Tanzania, they would have the people traveling take less than they normally would pack for like a 2-week trip, and they'd take the Pop Top in their luggage, because if we just send them, they'd either get stolen, or by the time they'd have to pay all the bribes to get them where they belong, it wouldn't be worth it. And there's a nun who takes in women, and they make purses out of the Pop Tops. And again, Shelly has one, bought one for the daughter who was teaching all those years. If you want to follow, I could get the purse at some time, you can take a picture of it, but one of the youth from St. Matthew's and myself went to Madison when this nun was doing a tour of the states, and we went there and to hear her story and how much it benefits these women. And some of the purses were just beautiful. There's no question about it. And they do other things, but they have like an orphanage for these unwed women who, what happens is, and I can't think of even the guy's name anymore, who would kidnap.
Rwanda. Oh, wasn't that it?
Yeah, but he had a name and I can't think of it. Again, and I've still got the literature in my drawer. Once these women would be forced to live with these rebels, they drop them back in their villages after a year or two, but nobody wanted anything to do with them, so they were kind of on their own.
Outcasts.
And she opened an orphanage and a home for these women and their children. And it's really a
And she taught them this how to sew,
right.
and that's how
Sewing
this
for-
began. Sewing for Hope, it was called.
Yeah.
And it started in just a religion class. It was in one of their magazines that they were reading in CCD.
I still have it.
And he said, well, why couldn't we do that? And I said, why can't we? So they started to make posters and signs, and they still collect the Pop-Tarts at school,
Yeah.
and they still send them out to the same place.
That's cool.
So we did that too. So there were a lot of little things like that came up.
Sandwiches and Pop Tops, that's your legacy.
That's pretty much.
What were some memorable events in the life of the parish in your years there?
Well, just even like I said, taking down the old hall.
Yeah, I remember that.
And again, just redoing the school as it is now, and making that south wing different, adding the gathering space back there, and doing all kinds of things, and changing the church around, and the whole beautification of our church and the Little Brick Church. There was all of that stuff going on in the parish that really, like I said, there were so many different things that people could be involved in. And like I said, before COVID, I think people were starting to really become more involved. And you could see people lingering after Mass and talking and coming together at a lot of Bible study going on, a lot of things like that. And then it all stopped. And now to try to get it moving again.
I think it's starting to move.
And I think so. Some of the things that you guys are doing wonderful things. The parish activity is doing well.
Okay. Tell me about a time when you were excited about a ministry going on. And you probably already have, but is there anything else that comes to mind?
Like I said, a lot of it was when I started, I think, the mission trips, I was scared because nobody around this area had gone on mission trips, none of the other parishes or schools in this area. And I didn't even know how to begin one. But I knew that the kids, it would really help them. So I partnered with someone from McWanago parish out there for a year so I could go with them. And it turns out the following year, he lost, the guy in charge lost his job there, but ended up going to St. John's in South Milwaukee. Divine Mercy over here. So it was like perfect that we could start a mission trip together. So we did, and he already knew, had been going, so it was easier for me to start. And then the next year I took kids with me, down to the South Dakota mission trip, and we started. I would bring back jewelry from them, and I sold jewelry for the mission trip. And so the next year I would take that and the money back with me to them and give back. So, but I didn't feel that was a good enough. I mean, there was a connection with the people, the Lakota people, but I didn't want to be involved with money taking and going, giving back and forth. There had to be a different way we could do that. So we decided to take a different route, and then we did fundraising. We did the taco nights and stuff like that.
Indian bread
taco. We did stuff like that to make money and bring some of the Lakota Indians up for our Indian Fest that they did at the Summerfest grounds, so they could see what was going on here and bring some of that culture back to their nation, which was fabulous. There were people that 3 or 4 people came and stayed. It was neat, and that was a beginning to excite me more for mission trips. And then I was able to branch out and have some of our kids go with Bob on some of the mission trips there, and I could take another trip somewhere else, so the kids would have choices on trips, and it worked out really well.
And I know this will be edited out, but I still want to, you talked about memories and everything, and I was, on these mission trips, we'd always have the adults, and we'd have other kids from other churches in our little groups, and we'd have 6 kids in our group, and we'd go to different places. And one of the last ones, if not the last one, I still remember, we were at a shelter. It was an old, like a school, and the first thing we were asked to do was clean the boiler room. And the brother who was the brother who was running it said, if it looks like we're not going to use it, or it's broken, or throw it in the lugger. So after half a day we had this done, and then he said, well, would you help them load a truck? And I said, yeah. It was a semi of food that was coming in, and we formed an assembly line and passed all the food and put it in the freezers and the refrigerators and in the dry, wherever it belonged. But he had asked if we would clean the bathrooms. They hadn't been cleaned. And I said, yeah, you know, they had mops and they had rags and stuff. And I'll never forget, one of the girls was in the men's bathroom, and these bathrooms weren't very clean, to say the least. And I would wander back and forth making sure everybody was happy and still working. And I went into the men's room, and I think there were 2 people in there, and I opened the stall to one of the bathrooms, and all I could see was this young girl hunched over a toilet, cleaning behind the toilet. I thought, geez.
And never complaining. These kids did work that.
One of our kids?
Yeah.
And she never complained. She would clean and do. But like I said, and when you asked them at the end of the day, you know, what they hated about a job, or that wasn't one of the things that she would say. You know, it was and even though he saw it, he knew, that was not something she would complain about. She didn't. She thought everything was okay. That when she left, she knew she did a good job.
Well, that was the job that she was given.
Right.
Okay, I get that.
And so she really felt proud of herself that she did a good job. And I said, just to see these kids and how they actually talked about it, you know, like, yeah, I did that, and I feel good about it. And it just really, like I said, you would have never thought that girl, especially, we're not going to name her, but you would never thought that she would have been scrubbing a toilet no matter where she was.
On her hands and knees.
So like I said, it just blows your mind, all that stuff.
I may have asked this already, but it's maybe just slightly different language. Memorable staff members that you worked with and what made them memorable, or memorable parish members you worked with and what made them memorable.
Again, I could list lots and lots of people. All of them are memorable for different things, but over the years, lots of them were memorable for volunteering when you needed them without even asking. They would seem to know. Okay, and a lot of them were my catechists. I had great catechists. You know, like I said, I asked for help and they were there. All right, sometimes they said that I twisted their arms, but I think that was probably overdoing it, really.
Any names come to mind, or do you
Well,
want to
Tim
go there?
Dugan is one of them.
Okay.
You know, I mean, he's been doing it again for 20-some years now. And when I first asked him and Donna to teach, and I said, I think you guys would be great, you know, teaching my religion classes, and especially with like 8th graders. And they were like, you know, let me think about it. You know, they weren't exactly jumping at the bit. And they said, well, they would try it. So they did. And they tried it the next year and the next year. You know, and even now, when I actually mentioned to him recently that he's another one we should interview, and that because he's been there a long time and he's done this, and how he's been doing confirmation. I mean, he was doing confirmation for me before I retired even, and he's still doing it. And so I said, you know, you should really do this. And he goes, what? Then I'd have to tell them that you made me do it. And it's like, so a lot of them, like I said, it started out that way where I would invite them and tell them, well, you know, you really should do this. You know, maybe not a force, but just kind of mention to them, God's calling them. So, but that was, like I said, my catechists were great. A lot of them, you know, Robin Olson's another
I
one.
was thinking of her. I'm glad you.
Yeah, it's that she's, you know, and just, she knows you need something, and she just, no matter how busy she is, she will find a way to help. And so, like I said, there's so many that are memorable. And the same thing with,
Who'd you see Monday? You said she's still teaching.
oh, Kathy White, yeah, she's another one. That still first grade teacher for like 30 some years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but there's so many that, like I said, you can see. But in other areas, like there's people that just come out of the woodwork to help when I say that I needed help.
Mhm.
And
Dan and Gail.
yeah,
I can't think of their last name even.
that they help at
Bazooka?
Sandwood Sunday.
Bazooka.
Dan and Gail.
Mhm.
Old,
And,
not
yeah.
older, but retired.
Yeah,
Just
yes, and it's they came when they began, and they started with Sandwich Sunday, and you know, then they're like, anything I can do, anything else can I help you with this? Can I take the sandwiches down? Can I do this?
they deliver the sandwiches.
Yeah, they're just right there all the time, and you
Great
know,
people.
and now then they're coming for lots of other things now too. Now that they know people, and
They feel
Feel
a sense of
comfortable, feel
community.
part
They're
Yeah.
part of it. They belong.
so, you know, but yeah, so a lot of them, and it goes back many years. People that aren't even here anymore, they really helped a lot. I mean, I can't even go, like I said, and with staff members, the same thing. I mean, Carol and I worked well together, but not because, you know, it was just a work relation with Carol and Dawn, that it was friends. We you know, that we helped each other, and Carol, if I would ask anything, she would do it. I know it. And, you know, and she, like I said, I love her family, you know, and they kind of grew up with us, so, you know, I would hug them so that they don't even want to come near me anymore. They're hugged out. But, you know, but like I said, so there's so many that are memorable and helpful, and, you know, and you yourself throughout the years, if I would ask,
all the years you've been there.
you would come, you know. If I'd say, do you think you can come? Yeah, I'll be there. So, you know, it really is. Like I said, it's a family.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. When you think about the future of St. Matthew's, what excites you the most?
That I'm still part of it. It's number one. That it is still my family. And, you know, when they say, you know, you grow old together, well, I've been here a long time. And I'm not going anywhere soon.
Hopefully.
What about you, Bill? Anything else come to mind with what excites you about the future?
What I like to see is, again, I keep using the word, a sense of community, especially in the gathering space, people talking and visiting and just getting to know one another. I was not crazy about the idea of the gathering space, but boy, that to me that's number one right now. Just getting the people together, and you know, I mean, even like for the funerals and everything else, it's so much more welcoming for a funeral to have it in the gathering space than to go to a funeral home, and then from the funeral home the next day you have to come to the church. This way, it's just like Shelly says, such a sense of family. I like it a lot.
What would you like to see remain the same, and what would you like to see change, if anything, relative to St. Matt's?
Well, I'm happy with the fact that we still have the school. I think that's so important. I've asked early on, years and years ago, we'd have a meeting with, 12 people. Well, of the 12, how many of you went to a Catholic grade school? And a lot of times it would be the majority, not everybody, but a majority. And boy, to find a Catholic grade school now, few and far between. The enrollment's up. It looks like it's definitely going in the right direction over there.
Yeah, I think our school is a major, a good school that we have, and we have a very good school, and we have nice things going on. And like I said, this year, I don't see any real problems that can occur or will occur. But like I said, the teachers, we have Laura's first year as a principal. I'm looking forward to all the things she can bring, I think that'll be awesome. And like I said, looking ahead 20 years from now, I'm hoping the school is still there. I'm hoping our religious formation program grows the families to come, more and more families to come, because it's a great religious ed program. I've known other ones around, and like I said, I know that ours is very good. So I think we have a lot going for us, and we just have to reach out more and more to more people, because
And how do we do that?
And that's a great question for the parish. How do we do that? Because we have to find a way, because like I said, I think people are missing out by not knowing about St. Matthew's. I really do.
I would like to see more outreach programs. Right now, I don't know if you've seen on TV, but Street Angels are saying they're preparing for a really tough winter, weather-wise and financially. And there's so many organizations, not just in Milwaukee, but throughout the whole community. They need so much help. We need so many people who have the ability to volunteer. You don't have to do it once a week, once a month. If they would just volunteer for something, go to a nursing home and talk to the people there. Again, Shelly and I, not that we're saints, but I think we're more aware of some of the opportunities that exist. It's just help one another, be kind. Sometimes it's kind of sad, but then you see, I still say you see more good than you see bad. You just don't hear about it. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I agree. I think if we're going to be looking for how we can improve it in the next 20 years, we have to look to outreach. We have to say, how can we reach out? Because the more we reach out, the more people find out about us and want to be part of it. If we can get that out, that we're here for them, for everyone, for you, for me, that we're a family, that we're going to be helping our outside family too.
Makes sense. Is there anything you would like to add to this conversation that I haven't asked?
I'm hoping to be around in 20 years when we get to the 100th.
200th.
200th. To see all of this as it comes out. But I have a shot at it.
You have a more better shot than I do.
Both my parents lived to be almost, my dad was over 100. So.
Wow. All right. Well, then I will conclude this time with you.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you for spending time with me today. And
Thank you.
All right. Damn it.